It's Betfair Hurdle Day at Newbury on Saturday, always a day to ring in the calendars. And two gentlemen who have it on their calendars from a long way out, and Matt Brocklebank and Richard Mann, are here to help me talk through the Newbury card. Welcome along, gents. Matt, Newbury, Betfair Hurdle, it's something you must look out for from November onwards.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it, Scoop, in your intro there. Yeah, not just a day that some of the Britain and Ireland's leading trainers sort of target. It's one for punters. This race in particular, isn't it? It is a fantastic race. We've had plenty of 16, 20-1 winners over the years as well. Lots to get stuck into. So while we do have a relatively short price favourite in one of these big Saturday handicaps again, I think we can cast the net a bit further, hopefully.
We do, and Rich, the race has held up. At the start of the week we were thinking, well, the cart water on this ground, it might be quick, it might cut up quite a lot, but 18 runners go to post, and it just shows you, doesn't it, when you dangle a carrot in terms of plenty of prize money, they come along for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought we might struggle to get 10 at the start of the week, but no, really good, strong field, and I think it's more competitive than what we got, a 7-2 favourite at the top there. I think it's a little bit more competitive than that. Should be in for a good race.
Well, let's have a look at the time form ratings and see where this Filey Bay is in there, because he is the gamble of the race, really, the one the bookmakers have been trying to avoid. And you can see that he is 157p, but he's not top of the ratings because that's Master Chewy for Nigel Twiston-Davies, a trainer who's got a great record in this race. But those two at the top, Rich, Master Chewy, Filey Bay, they've got P's attached to their ratings, and they are two of the most unexposed horses in the race that could have more to offer.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Loads of potential from both. Master Chewy, I thought his Cheltenham run was really good behind Attacker, horse of Nicky Henderson's that looks to have a bright future. And then Filey Bay, we didn't really see a lot of him last time winning because he was in the fog. But he looked to win with plenty in hand. Emmett Mullins, terrific trainer, obviously won the National last year. And to me, it just looks like this horse has been working back from something like this, a really big handicap pot. I thought Matt was definitely workable, plenty more to come. You can see why he's as short as he is. Yeah,
that £7 rise for winning last time. We don't really know if the handicapper's got it right or got it wrong, do we? Because we couldn't see an awful lot. But once he got on top in the closing stages, he won it pretty cosily.
Richie McClernand was pulling up sort of 50-60 yards from the line, wasn't it? He was very much don't win too far with a race like this in mind. So he's got bags of potential, but he's facing horses with a bit more experience as well. So
they struck gold with the weather, I think, didn't they? Is that fair to say? Obviously, I can't have predicted this, but you can barely see it. And as Rich said, as they emerged from the fog, you could see Richie McClernand just looking left and right, and he's won as he liked. On the bare sort of form of that, there's 6 or 7 horses finishing a bunch right behind him, but God, they've landed on their feet there because it is guesswork. They've had a guess with his mark because it's one of those races that, in a clear light of day, given plenty of encouragement, he could well have gone on to win by 10 or 12 lengths, and we could be looking at a horse much nearer the top of the weights in this. So he has snuck in sort of in the middle. I mean, it does just go to show, doesn't it? It's not like a brilliant. I don't think you're going to throw up a champion hurdle horse. It's not one of those Betfair hurdles. You have got horses rated 120, mid 120s in there, innit? So in terms of raw class, it's lacking a little bit. So Filey Bay off 133 is like number 9. We've seen it a lot, didn't we? We saw it with the Greatwood Hurdle. Top Weight won that. These races aren't necessarily quite as strong. They're not attracting the top class horses as they once were. But yeah, it makes for a hell of a race.
But Filey Bay is in there at about 7-2 in the market, and he's been pretty well found for a race of this nature. So let's have a look at one or two of the other ones to try and find a bit of value against him. And we're going to see the No Ordinary Joe race at Kempton, Matt, from the Boxing Day meeting at the track, because the winner is an eye-catching horse, but so is one in behind.
Yes, the winner, No Ordinary Joe, you sort of sense he's been quite well regarded from day one. Came through sort of the bumpers, ran in graded novice hurdles as well. And this was after 374 days off. He's defied the layoff really well because he has been challenged here on either side, and he's knuckled down and seen it out. I do suspect this was soft ground round Kempton, obviously over Christmas, and you kind of think that this is a horse that might get a bit further in time, and he's one of them that I'm going to sort of bunch into a group of horses that I suspect might, if the ground is decent, might find this test a little bit sharp. Now, finishing 4th here, we just don't quite catch it, but a horse called Favoire. Now, I've got a bit of previous with this these connections, really. I was utterly convinced sadly ill-fated LA Bell would win this race last year.
I remember you telling me to get on her.
She won on the corresponding week, didn't she? And she ended up winning the Sydney Banks Novice Hurdle. So they took her to Huntingdon instead. Now I was a bit gutted. Obviously, she came to a sad end at Aintree, and so connections have got a little bit of a score to set with this race, and certainly from my point of view. And I thought Favois, this is the kind of race that we're now well accustomed to Dan Skelton winning. Big Saturday handicaps. It is the sort of race that in 10 years' time he could well have won 2 or 3 times, isn't it? And I don't want to miss this horse. I know he's been quite well found. I know like Tony Calvin's put him up on the Betfair blog, hasn't he? And 1 or 2 others have fancied this horse. And I can certainly see the angle. He's a good ground horse. Just add that they've taken the covers off, haven't they, on Friday as we're recording. So whereas sometimes when the covers come off on a Saturday morning after like snow and frost through the week, it can be really quite gluey and dead. I've got a feeling it could be quite lively, the ground. They've not been able to water. There was threats at the start of the week that we might be looking at good to firm in some of the description, and this is going to be run at 3:35. There's no rain forecast at all. It's going to be a dry and bright day. I suspect we could be looking at quite lively ground, and he's going to enjoy a speed test. Cheek pieces on as well, back on. I think this might be the day for him. Yeah,
well, you're convincing me. I do quite like the sound of him, but let's just talk about the pace in the race, Rich. We'll get the pace map up on screen because it is vital to talk about the front runners in a race of this nature, and you've got 4 or 5 in there, the likes of Highway 102 and Orcan Risk, Teddy Blue perhaps from Gary Moore's yard as well. Do you think they might, go hell for leather, or are we overcomplicating things?
No, well, that was my immediate thought when I had a good look at the race. I thought there's so much pace in there. You want to be mid-pack to the back, and then Matt's come off air and told me that the pace will hold up and that don't worry about it. I think we'll just get a good honest gallop. I think there's enough front runners in there to suggest it certainly won't be a crawl. Whether they go helter-skelter and it sets something up from the back, probably not. But I think all you want is a good honest gallop, and I do think we'll get that. There's enough in here.
One horse who might just sit off that good honest gallop is Hacker de Plessis for Paul Nicholls, who won last time out at Cheltenham on trials day. I think we've got the video of this horse winning too. Just talk us through this, Rich, because he's an improver from the Nicholls yard, who's always to be feared on this card.
Yeah, I thought this was a massive personal best, and I know he only wins a neck in the end, having looked like he'd win a lot further, but I just always felt like he was doing enough. I think he was good value for that neck and a bit more actually. Massive personal best. Look, I know he's up £5. Angus Khalida again takes 5 off, so it doesn't really make much difference. But look at him here, lugging left. But when he straightened up, I personally I felt he had a little bit more left in the tack. I never thought he was not going to win this day. I suspect we haven't got to the bottom of him just yet. And Paul Nicholls on a Saturday definitely one to fear in these big handicaps.
Yep. So just have you got a selection for us, Rich?
I'm going to go with Teddy Blue. Now, I know you've told me off air that this one can't win.
Everybody said that.
Just won a maiden hurdle last time. It actually won one before as well, but was disqualified for a banned substance. But won a maiden hurdle last time. Gary Moore, terrific record in this race. Terrific record at laying one out for handicaps. And I was just really taken with it. Caelan Quinn takes off 5, who I've been super impressed with. He looks a real talented jockey to watch. So I'll go for him. I'm hoping just sit off that early pace, prominent racer, sit off that early pace and strike in the straight.
Yeah, well, I think I might go for Gary Moore's other one, Yorksea, so hopefully one of us might be in the money anyway. And Matt, just sum up, is it Favois all the way?
Yeah, Moore's got a good record in the race, hasn't he? I do like Favois. I backed him a few days ago. I'm going to stick with him. I'm going to put him up. The other one I really like is one of Chris Gordon's. He's got 2 in the race. I like Orcan Risk. Now, Chris Gordon, fairly local trainer. He's been knocking on the door in this race. He's had 2 fourths and a third in the last 3 years, so he's getting there. And I think this might be the horse that gives him his best chance yet. Look, I think that second to Boot Hill last time out in a Grade 2 novice chase is the best single piece of recent form coming into this race. I think that was a fantastic run. And it wasn't a flash in the pan. It's not like this horse totally lost his way over hurdles either, and has improved massively for a switch to fences. I just think we're looking at a really progressive young horse, and this could be one of, I mean, Chris Gordon is a good trainer, isn't he? But this could be a fantastic piece of placement, because on the back of that novice chase run, he's gone up to a new mark of 145. Well, he can effectively run off his old hurdles mark here. He runs off 138, so he's well in. I'm convinced he's a young progressive horse who's well in. He'll get a race run to suit. He tends to be up with the pace, but I think Nick Schofield might just sit in that second wave and get a lovely toe into it. So I'm with Favois. I'm going to have a second string to my bow in a race of this nature, and definitely Orcan Risk. I think 12 to 1. I'd make him among the favourites. I really would. I think he could be like a 6-7 to 1 shot in reality, and I'm willing to back him.
Chris Gordon, I think 42% in the last week at the time.
He's flying,
really he's on fire, isn't he? A fascinating Betfair Hurdle, and there's a fascinating Betfair Denman chase as well earlier on the card with Paul Nicholls, that man again trying to win the race. He's won it multiple times in the past, hasn't he, with horses like Denman himself, who the race is named after. And this year he's got Hitman, who is a wonderful horse to talk about, because on his day he looks fantastic, and then sometimes he looks a bit of an inconsistent horse to me, and I'm not absolutely convinced he's a 3 miler either, but he looks to have a good chance in this race the way the weights are framed.
I can't have him, Scoop. I can't have him on my mind. I know I was a bit critical of him going into the King George, and I'm going to stand by that. And I realise, you know, a horse bombs out in the King George and he has 70 odd days off, and you think, one trainer who could prepare one for Betfair Day at Newbury, and it's obviously Paul Nicholls, but I just don't trust this horse. I think he looks around for horses better than him. It happened again at Kempton after 3 or 4 well, with a circuit to go, the writing was on the wall. He was a beaten horse, and he just needs everything right now. This might be the soft race that he can win this season, but he's talented, but 3 wins from 12 chase starts, that just doesn't do his talent justice, does it? And I think that tells the tale, really. He's been beaten. He was beaten at a short price on this card last year, wasn't he? He was quite a short price for the Game Spirit. He ended up 3rd or 4th behind Funamber Suvola. So no, I'm definitely taking him on. I can see why people will sort of put a load of faith in Paul Nicholls, but I certainly can't put a faith in Hitman.
It was the old Rowan run that's put me off him, really, because that was a competitive race, but he travelled through that race like much the best.
And on paper, that's a good run, isn't it? That's one of his best
runs. But he should have won, shouldn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, 100 yards to go, he definitely should have won. I just tried to look for the running price there and I couldn't get it up, but he should have won that day. About him in a finish, and there's some class horses in here. I'd want to be against him as well.
Yeah, I think there's 3 of us are against him. I'm not convinced he's a certain stayer at the trip either, but if we get the ratings up on screen, he is £4 clear, so he's perhaps got that class edge on his best form. I think the problem is his best form's over a shorter trip, but one horse who has got form at the trip and at this course is last year's winner, Rich, Eldorado Allen, who sort of burst onto the scene in effect in this race last year.
Well, yeah, it was his first go at 3 miles, wasn't it? And it really did transform him. But one thing this horse has always had, a brilliant jumper, fantastic jumper. It stood him in really good stead. I think he was 2nd in the Sporting Life Arkle to Shishkin going way back, and it was his jumping that just got him that far. I like him here. I think he's run pretty well this season. Good second at Wetherby in the Charlie Hall, and then again at Haydock. I thought he run okay in the King George. I finished 4th. Thought it was a pretty good run. But the key to me, I think the Tizard horses are about to turn a corner. Couple of winners in the week. Really good winner at somewhere. Good winner on Thursday in these colours actually as well. I think Tizard at Taunton. That's correct. And I think the Tizard horses are about to turn a corner now. He's got the best form in the race. He does have to concede £2 to these for winning last year, but I don't think that'll be good enough to stop him. The thing is as well, I don't think there's a great deal of pace in there.
Well, that's a nice cue, because we've got the pace map, and it could be a tactical race, this map, couldn't it? I mean, you've potentially got Hitman going forward, you've potentially got Sam Brown going forward, as time form suggests there. But I thought Kim Bailey's horse, Does He Know, might just have a little tactical switch here and be aggressive at his fences under David Bass.
I think he'll have to be, won't he, as well, because the other option that they had with this horse was the Grand National Trial at Haydock. He is a good stayer, isn't he? He
won over 3.5 last time at Cheltenham.
Exactly. This is a drop back in trip on a flat track against class horses. Now, I think Does He Know, his chance hinges on David Bass getting into a good rhythm, and he could do that. He has generally been held up though, and that's kind of my issue with him. And you know, so against Hitman, and yet you really are scratching around a little. I feel
like you're struggling for a bet in this race.
For a bet, if I did have to have a bet, and I might end up packing him, is Fagnon D'Estruval. He just looks to be bubbling towards something. Now, again, he's a horse that had options. He was in the Coral Trophy at Kempton coming up. That's in a couple of weeks, whether he's going to run there. He had other options as well. The Ascot Chase that he ran quite well in this time last year. And is he a bit tripless? Or, again, they're struggling a little bit to find his right distance. But I think this might just play into his hands a little bit. He's a decent horse. They've put cheap pieces on, haven't they, Fagnon D'Estruval? And he ran really well last time out. That was in the the rehearsal chase, one of the strongest kind of handicap chases really around in Britain. He was trying to give like a stone to that into Overdrive, who's very, very progressive. So this race is a bit of a penalties race, isn't it? In that those giving weight away in Grade 2s, they struggle because they haven't got a real class edge. And if you don't like Hitman, who is the obvious favourite and is the obvious one that's probably going to go and outclass them, I think Fagnon D'Estruval, again, getting £6 off last year's winner, might just swing it to a horse like him. But is he big enough at 4 or 5 to 1? I'm not sure. If he drifts to 6 or 7s, I'd probably back him. Yeah,
I think Venetia's got a pretty good record on this card, hasn't she? She won last year with Funambuli Savola in the Game Spirit, and I think she's had 1 or 2 other winners at this meeting. So yeah, a dead interesting one there. Thank you very much, gents, for all your thoughts. Thank you for watching. Do check out Sporting Life and Timeform for all your tips and previews this weekend, and enjoy the action.